Good morning. We're just 4 days away from Thanksgiving, and I hope everybody's preparing for the holiday. It seems like a lot of times now it feels more like we're thinking about Christmas than Thanksgiving, right? You go to the stores, and before Halloween's even open, the Christmas stuff's coming out. People are already talking about their presents, and we kind of treat Thanksgiving at times, it seems like, almost as an afterthought. That we have Black Friday sales coming up and Cyber Monday, and Christmas almost just seems like a warm-up act for Christmas, right? As we come into the holiday season, it's like, well, we got Thanksgiving, but Christmas is coming, right? We got the pomp and the pageantry of Christmas, and it's a great holiday, right? It's the birth of Jesus Christ, but we should never forget about Thanksgiving, right? It's a great day. What more can you ask for? It's eating, napping, and watching football. I mean, for somebody who loves football, that's a pretty good day overall to me. And having great food and great company and having your family with you. I can't think of many holidays that are so relaxed and chill. And I would just ask that we not rush forward to Christmas, right? Christmas gets its time, a lot of time. But God says in 1 Thessalonians, Paul writes in 1 Thessalonians that in everything we should give thanks. Right? Saying thank you is one of those things that kind of separates us as human beings, and it's kind of a noble thing, right? Whether we receive a gift, or maybe somebody opens a door for us, or carries our grocery out, or helps us with a burden. It's something we've received that's unexpected or unearned. We should be thankful for. Right? We should be very quick to thank people and say thank you for the things that they've done for us and to us, because if you really think about it, all life is a gift. Each day is a gift that we should be thankful for and grateful for. Even through our hard times and our struggles, every day we should be thankful. I just want to say before I get into the main sermon portion of things that the sermon today is inspired by an article that was written by a man named Ray Pritchard back in 1991, and I had read this article a little while ago, and I really appreciated this outlook of Psalm 131, and I think it really, really ties into Thanksgiving and being thankful and having a grateful life. And so Psalm 31, you'll notice, is 3 verses. It's very short, right? It was written by David, who is the sweet singer of Israel, right? And David wrote it as a song of ascent, or a psalm of ascent. And a psalm of ascent is one that the pilgrims, right? It's also called a pilgrim psalm, a psalm where when they were going up to Jerusalem, ascending the mountain, they would sing psalms along the way, right? And Psalms 120 through 134 are all kind of grouped in here, and you notice that almost every one of them is fairly short, right? And as you're traveling and singing, you're probably going to sing shorter songs, but this psalm is one of them as well, right? As they're preparing to go up to Jerusalem for the festivals, right? They're preparing their heart for worship. They're preparing themselves to be gracious and thankful to God. And so that's what they're doing in these psalms, and in Psalm 131 is no different. And Charles Spurgeon once said about Psalm 131 is one of the shortest to read, but is one of the longest to learn. So if you have your Bible with you today, you can read along in Psalm 131. Psalm 131, a song of ascents of David. My heart is not proud, O Lord. My ears are not haughty. I do not concern myself with great matters or things too wonderful for me. But I have stilled and quieted my soul. Like a weaned child with its mother, like a weaned child is my soul within me. O Israel, put your hope in the Lord both now and forevermore. Right? A very simple psalm, and it's a beautiful psalm in what it has to say. If we look at verse 1 and just its own piece, verse 1 is really talking about humility. Right? I'll read verse 1 again. It says, "My heart is not proud, O Lord." And that word proud in the Hebrew is gabah, which means I'm not high or haughty. Right? High like the mountains or trees, and that's how this word is used. Or like when King Saul is crowned, they use this word to say that he is higher. Or they use it in the Bible when it says God's thoughts are higher than man's, right? I'm not too high, I'm not too haughty, I'm not greater than other things around me, I'm not propped up and arrogant, I don't think I'm bigger than what I actually am. My eyes are not haughty. I do not concern myself with great matters or things too wonderful for me. Right? I love this idea out of David, right? That not only am I not proud or haughty, but I'm not worried about striving for the things that are greater than me, right? That's opposite of what our culture kind of tells us nowadays from the day we're born and we hit elementary school, right? And as we're growing and learning, it's to get better and move upward and achieve more and climb the ladder and look out for number one. Right? These are all the things that we're taught, is to search out the hardest things in life and to make yourself the best version of yourself you can be. But David is saying, well, it's okay to be humble. I don't need to be greater than, and in fact, I don't need to search out and figure out the things that are probably over my pay grade, so to say. Right? Things that are above me and over me. Right? Sometimes the simplest answer to questions is, I don't know. And I'm not too worried about it either. Right? It's this attitude of the heart to think that I'm not greater and higher and bigger than I think I am. I'm humble and have humility. You know what? Some things I'm not going to worry about. I'm simply just going to say, God's got it. I'm not going to worry about it. It's really that simple. Being humble enough to know that I don't know everything, and I can't achieve everything, and I'm not going to be the greatest at everything, but I'm okay with that. Right? That's a hard thing for a lot of us to do, because we all have limits in life, and that's a hard thing to admit, having limits. Right? None of us want to have limits, but we do. Right? My wife's grandpa once told me, Grandpa Lindell, he said, the greatest lie ever told is that all men are created equally. You might go, whoa, time out. That's a founding issue of our country, but if we really stop and think about it, we deserve equal rights. Right? We deserve equal opportunity, but we're not actually equal in all ways. Right? Some people are taller than me. Some people are shorter than me. Some people are smarter than me. I'm smarter than some people. Right? Some people are better looking than I am. Some people aren't. Right? In some ways, I'm really good. Right? I'm good at strategy and board games and things of that nature. And I don't mind speaking in front of a camera, but man, I'm not really good at construction. Right? Creating things with my hands, I'm just not really good at it. I don't think that way. I love to read, and I can retain knowledge fairly well. But don't ask me to remodel the bathroom, because it's going to take 5 times longer than it's supposed to. Right? We're all a little bit different, and we all have limits, and sometimes just knowing what our limits are and stopping and going, you know what? It's okay. I don't need to know everything. I don't need to be everything. I don't need to do everything. That brings wisdom in one's life. And so the first verse is just simply be humble, have humility, and be okay with the things that you don't know that are above us, that are higher than us. Right? And the second verse is about simplicity, right? I'll reread to you verse 2. It says, "But I have stilled and quieted my soul. Like a weaned child with its mother, like a weaned child is my soul within me." Right? This is a beautiful imagery that David uses here about a baby who's being weaned from its mother. And so mothers are going to understand this a lot better than men are going to. Right, what it means to wean, because from the moment a baby is born, the only way it gets its meals is through the mother's breast, right? That milk that God has created, this perfect way of feeding a baby, right? And for every meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, brunch, afternoon snacks, 11sies, right? All the different times of the day that the babies eat, it cries, mom responds, grabs baby, and feeds him. Right? But eventually the baby starts to grow and we got to come off that milk, and the mother has to wean the baby off by maybe moving from breast milk to a bottle. Right? And then maybe from the bottle to that pureed food or that cereal that you mix up, and right, that pureed canned stuff that supposedly is really good food. I don't know, the peas and carrots, they don't taste like the peas and carrots that I cook. The applesauce is pretty solid. Right, the peach cobbler, like some of them are really good, but some of them not so much. But either way, you kind of get where I'm going. Right, and then we graduate them up to maybe some more solid foods, things that they can eat with their mouth, and they're gradually weaned off of something that at one point in time was indispensable. Right, the mother's breast and the milk that came from it was indispensable, because without it there was no life for that child. But eventually, and it's hard for the baby, right, to be weaned from that. And it's hard for mom to be weaned from it, right? Because the baby doesn't want the bottle. It wants the natural. And it's comfort, and it's the warmth of the mother's skin and everything. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And all of a sudden it becomes a little more distant and a little more cold. And it's hard for mom, and it's hard for baby. But it has to be done. Because the baby has to grow. And right, once that milk could not live without it, right, it was indispensable. But eventually when they're weaned off that, it's no longer needed. Right, pretty soon they can all sit at the table together with brothers, sisters, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, everybody, and they can all eat together, and it's perfectly fine. But once was needed is no longer needed. And we all have things that we need weaned from our life. Because eventually the child then, when he goes to the mother and lays his head against her chest, it's because he loves her. It's simple. It's for nothing else other than comfort and love. All right, that's a really simple way to live life. And sometimes we wonder that when we want to find simple contentment in life, right, we often associate contentment with having our wants and needs met, right? We're content to have when we have our wants met and our needs met, right? Our contentment seems to be based on what in our lives that we think we need is being met at that moment. Right? We have a really good meal, right? Thanksgiving, you're going to sit down, you're going to eat all this food, and somebody's going, okay, it's time for pie. And we're like, I can't eat any pie right now. I'm so full. Man, this was great. And you lay down and you probably take a little nap. At least I try to. Because I'm content. Right? But what about with the exclusion of those things? Where's my contentment when all my needs and all my wants aren't being met? Right? There was once a billionaire who was asked, you're a billionaire, you got everything, but yet you work hard and you still strive to make more money, and you need more and you need more. When is it enough? And he said, the next dollar, and then the next dollar, and then the next dollar. Right? There's no contentment. Right? We often live lives of, I'd just be happy if. I had the next great thing, right? I'd just be happy if I had a brand new car. I'd just be happy if I had a brand new pickup. I'd just be happy if I had a bigger home. I'd just be happy if I had a nicer home. I'd just be happy if my lawn didn't have any weeds in it. It was perfect and it was the envy of all those things, right? I'd just be happy if my body was perfectly sculpted and I looked like the statue that was out there of the perfect male specimen, right? Or maybe female specimen, right? I'd just be happy if I had a better job. But that's not true. Right? We're just happy and we're content when we're okay with the simplicity of going to God. Right? To go into God. Right? Jesus said about children, right? Because this is a children's analogy. Jesus said it in Matthew 18:1-4. At that time, the disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" He called a little child and had him stand among them, and he said, "I tell the truth, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever humbles himself like this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven." Right? To be humble, a child's faith. What's a child's faith? It's simple and it's uncomplicated. It's simple and it's an uncomplicated trust in God. It's a trust that He is going to be exactly who He tells us He is going to be. It's a simple trust of knowing that God is going to meet your needs and to not worry about it. To be contented with what He's given you, whether good or bad. Right? That's what David is talking about, right? That as I'm weaned away from the things of this world and the things that I thought I needed and the things that were once indispensable to me, once I've been weaned away from those things, all of a sudden my soul is quiet and it's contented. Because I've stopped worrying about the things of the world and I've started just trusting in God. Right? We see that trust at work. And hopefully we see it in your lives, right? An 1800s commentator wrote on God's weaning that He does three things, right? He makes the things of this world bitter to us. He removes the things in our lives that we depend on. And then He gives us something better. Man, what a beautiful thing. All right, let's move to verse 3, the final verse. It says, "O Israel, put your hope in the Lord both now and forevermore." Right, that word hope in Hebrew is yahal, which means to wait and to wait expectantly. Right, to wait expectantly for the trustworthy person, right? When you trust somebody and they say they're going to do something, you believe them. Even if all odds are against it, it doesn't look like it's going to happen, you still believe them. Why? Because they're trustworthy and God is trustworthy. And so we put our hope in Him, that we'll wait expectantly for Him. Right? We see it in the lives of the apostles in Acts, right? As they're meeting on Solomon's colonnade daily, right? They go up to the temple and they take part in the prayers, and then they come and they start teaching people. They come, and the disciples start listening to all the apostles that are there talking, and each day they meet at Solomon's colonnade. Well, why there? Well, because it's on the east side of the Temple Mount, and it faces the Mount of Olives. Right? I'm actually pointing west right now. So it faces the Mount of Olives. And Jesus said that He would come back down. He would descend back onto the Mount of Olives where His feet would hit the ground. And so they were waiting expectantly that one day they were going to be there and they were going to see Jesus come down in the east, and that He was going to come into Jerusalem from the east. And so every day they put their faith in action. They had hope because Jesus was trustworthy. And so they waited And they waited expectantly on him, right? And do we trust God? Do we have hope in God? How about things when things are going good, right? When my belly's full and my house is warm and things are great and my car's running good and man, my kids are all doing good in school and right, they got good jobs and man, I got a granddaughter that was born and she's beautiful and perfect in my eyes and right, all these great things and I trust in God. I go, man, how much am I blessed by God at this point in time in my life? But what about when things aren't going so well? Right? What about when the furnace breaks down? What about when the deer runs out in front of the car and you hit it? What about when your finances are a wreck? What about when somebody that you love and care for deeply is gravely ill or has been stricken with cancer? Do we still have that hope? Do we still have the thanks for the things that God has given us and trust in him, right? Because we should hope in God. Because why? If we refer back to both verse 1, God has the answers to the great things, to the marvelous things, the high things that are above our comprehension. God has the answers to those, both the great things and the small. God has the answers to them. And all is he asking us to do is to put our trust in him, to be humble and have a contented soul. Right, this year, I'm going to ask you to do something a little bit different. Right, this is going to be a private exercise. If you want to do it as a family, great. That's your choice. But I would ask everybody to do a private exercise when they're done or sometime this week before Thursday. Right, we traditionally make that list of things that we're very thankful for. Right, or maybe at your house you sit around the meal and you go, okay, everybody's going to say something they're thankful for before you eat dinner. And I would encourage you to do that, but I'd also like to encourage you to think back and be thankful for the things that God has weaned out of your life. The things that you once thought you absolutely had to have. Right? Those things that were indispensable to you that now don't even matter. Right? When I was younger, I used to wake up every day and I'd wake up and I'd drink a Mountain Dew. I had to have that Mountain Dew. I drink a Mountain Dew in the morning, I drink a Mountain Dew after lunch, and I drink a Mountain Dew at night. And if I woke up in the morning and that Mountain Dew was not there, man, I was grumpy and I had to go find a Mountain Dew. And eventually I weaned myself off of that, and I'm so grateful to God for that, because now to me, it's no longer needed. I don't even drink soda. On occasion, I might have one, but for the most part, I don't even touch it. Right, but I would just ask you to look at your lives and think about the course of 2024 and think about the things that God has weaned from your life that were indispensable and you don't even need them anymore. And thank God for that, because that means he's working in your life and helping you to grow. In closing, I think we should be the most thankful people on earth. We live in a country where we are free. We live in a country that we get a lot more than a lot of other places, and we should be some of the most grateful and thankful people on earth. And that our days should be marked with humility, with simplicity, and hope in the return of our Savior. I want to close with just reading a prayer that was found on a Confederate soldier who had been killed during the Civil War. And they go through and they look in pockets and pull things out and collect things, and this prayer was found on a soldier. I just wanted to read it to you in closing. I asked God for strength that I might achieve. I was made weak that I might learn humbly to obey. I asked for health that I might do greater things. I was given infirmity that I might do better things. I asked for riches that I might be happy. I was given poverty that I might be wise. I asked for power that I might have the praise of men. I was given weakness that I might feel the need for God. I asked for all things that I might enjoy life. I was given life that I might enjoy all things. I got nothing I asked for, but everything I hoped for. Almost despite myself, my unspoken prayers were answered. I am among men most richly blessed. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and God bless you this week.